Hey guys, welcome to episode 22 of the Daily Level Up show. I am your host, Roosevelt Cooper, and in today's episode, I talk about going back to work after being off a couple of days. I talk about the a new project that I'm working on that's going to go on the list of other projects that I'm working on. And I also talk about a conversation that I had in regards to why people don't achieve their goals. So I went back to work today, so I can see why managers don't like to take off, because when you come back to work, you got to deal with all the issues that occurred while you were off work. Does that mean that I'm not going to take off in the future? No, absolutely not. I definitely will be taking off in the future, and I will not be trying to check my email and all that type of stuff while I'm off. I will deal with those repercussions because I think it's important for us as gamer dad entrepreneurs to have a good work-life balance. And I believe that when we take off work, we should take off work, not be checking emails and trying to find out what's going on. Literally take off work and spend that time with your family, spend that time with your gaming, spend that time working your business, or spend that time doing whatever it is that you took off for to begin with. So that's where I am with that. I also want to talk about a conversation that I had with my wife in regards to why people don't achieve goals. And there's literally two reasons that I found why people don't achieve goals. And let's make the assumption that the goals that they are setting are realistic to begin with. Another reason why people don't achieve goals is because they set unrealistic goals. But let's assume that the goals that they set let's assume that the goals that they set are realistic. So why do people not achieve realistic goals? I think there's two reasons. The first reason is they don't have any accountability. It's very important for the vast majority of us to have some type of accountability when it comes to attempting to achieve our goals. There is a small portion of the population who are just so self-motivated that they will just achieve their goals without having any level of accountability. But for most of us, we need some level of accountability in order to be able to achieve our goals. Perfect example, I actually found out that there are businesses right now that literally charge $200 to $300 a month. And what do you get for that $200 to $300 a month? They set up a system where you can log onto a Zoom call, and on that Zoom call, everybody just does their work. So you literally have people charging $200 to $300 a month just to create a space for other entrepreneurs to do work. Now, I know I'm not that bad. I don't need to pay $200 to $300 a month to log on some Zoom call just to do my work. For me, with my business, I'm going to do my work regardless, whether there's a Zoom call or not. However, it just goes to show you how there are so many people who really need accountability and structure. And the thing is, you may not need that for certain things because you have a certain level of self-motivation in those things. But there are definitely areas where you need accountability. Like, for example, with me and my business, I tend to be more self-motivated when it comes to my business. So I don't necessarily need that level of accountability in my business. But when it comes to things like exercising, yeah, I need accountability. Because if I don't have some type of accountability, I'm probably not going to do it. So that's one reason why people don't achieve their goals, is because they lack accountability. The other reason why people don't achieve their goals is because they lack a system. So, for example, let's say and I see this all the time. Some people might say, oh yeah, I want to get in better shape. I want to lose weight. I want to reach this certain health milestone. And I'll ask them, I'll be like, oh, have you ever reached that health milestone before? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, well, what was you doing during that time? And they're like, oh, I was doing this, I was doing this, I was doing this. So I was like, oh, well, why don't you go back to that? Yeah, that's a good idea. I should go back to that. And then, but if they go back to that, right, and they don't have a system to track and measure if they are engaging in those activities, they're probably not going to reach their goals. So, for example, let's say one of the activities you were engaging in was you were exercising an hour a day, 5 days a week. So I asked you, oh, how much time did you exercise yesterday? Oh, I exercised about 20 minutes. Did you exercise about 20 minutes or did you exercise 20 minutes? How do you know you exercised 20 minutes? Are you going based upon memory? If you're going based upon memory, that's not a system. That's not reliable. And if you want measurable, specific goals, you have to have a measurable and specific system to track those goals. When I do exercise, I can tell you how much I exercise. For example, on Sunday, I exercised for 70 minutes. How do I know I exercised for 70 minutes? Because I tracked it and I wrote it in my planner. My planner is my system. So I'm able to track what it is that I'm doing, and I know what I did and what I didn't do. So when I take a look at my results and I see if my results aren't where I want them to be, I can literally just go pull up my planner and see what my activity was, and I can see if my activity was indicative of the results. And yes, my activity will be indicative of the results most of the time. So those are the two things that I found that prevent people from achieving their goals. Either they don't have some system of accountability, or they don't have a system to actually track and measure their progress towards reaching their goals. And that's literally what I do with my coaching clients. I give them some accountability. My coaching is the accountability because they know that they are going to be asked by me how they did on their goals. And then I put them on a system to be able to track and measure their progress. I literally put them on the system that I use. The system that I use is the achievement system. This is my achievement planner. You can see, have all these different pages, track my days. And I have these different processes that I can use to track how effective I am in my high payoff activities. So all my clients get put on that system. And that system is what I use to be able to turn my life around as a gamer dad entrepreneur. And that's the system that I put my clients on. So have some type of accountability and put yourself on a system. And then finally, I'm working on a new project. So I am a gamer dad entrepreneur. So one of the things that I'm working on are games. One of the things that I'm working on is I am building adventures for role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games. However, the adventures that I'm building are going to be specifically designed for players who want to play the games by themselves without a dungeon master or without any other players. There's a huge community, bare minimum at least tens of thousands. In all likelihood, it's probably hundreds of thousands of people who, for whatever reason, either don't have anybody to play with, or if they do have somebody to play with, they want to be able to play more, and they may not be able to have people to play with during the times and places where they want to play. So because of that, there is a big demand for people to play role-playing games by themselves without a dungeon master, without a game master, without a narrator, and also without other players. So I want to build adventures that will allow them to be able to do that. However, I don't want to just do the standard choose your own adventure style adventures. Those are great. I love those too, and I definitely play those too. But I want to have a different system, so to speak. I want it to be more like an actual dungeon master is actually presenting these scenarios to you versus a pre-planned, pre-written adventure with very little room to deviate from it. I want to have a lot of room to be able to deviate from it. I want you to be able to deviate from it in the spirit that a party could deviate from it with a dungeon master. And I do have some systems that will allow me to be able to do that. So that's one of the projects that I'm going to be working on. The other project that I'm going to be working on is I am launching my very own tabletop role-playing game. And I'm super excited about it. I've always wanted to create my own game, and now is the time to do so. I'm not going to tell you the specifics about the game yet because I haven't created it yet. However, I can tell you that the setting for the game is going to be in a modern setting, modern 21st century setting. So I will tell you that. And I am probably going to use the Dungeons and Dragons 5.1 Creative Commons license to be able to create the game. I originally was leaning against that because of the uncertainty of the OGL situation. However, now that they've created their rules in the Creative Commons, I feel more comfortable using that. So I'm leaning towards that. However, I am not definitively saying that I'm definitely going to use that. When I do the design for the game, if I feel there's another system that I could use that will be better, I'll go ahead and use that instead. Or if I feel that if I create my own system, that would be better, then I will probably use that instead. But I'm really excited. I will tell you that the role-playing game that I'm working on is actually based on a game that I created when I was a child. So my kids are familiar with it. So they're going to be helping me play test it in a role-playing game format. And I'm super excited. I really want to build this game and get this out so that people can enjoy it because it's something that I created as a child. Although it wasn't in a role-playing game format, I think the role-playing game format would be perfect for the particular concept that I have for this particular game. All right, so that is it for today's episode. I will see you tomorrow with a new episode of the Daily Level Up Show. Take care.